was a great answer, and I forgot to hit record. Somebody will write it down. Okay, so short version for the recording, because I'm adult and forgot to record, was Matthew asked a question about headlines, long versus short, and how to find a really killer hook. So the first part is headlines, long versus short. In general, shorter the better, simply because the idea for a headline is to capture attention. And in order to do that, one of the barriers to attention is long stuff or lengthy stuff or like commitment to information, that sort of thing. So in general, the shorter the better, but there's lots of instances where that's not true. So sometimes longer is better. And then how to find a really great killer hook. The main purpose of headlines and subheads and leads and hooks and all that kind of stuff is to capture attention from your client and then interest from your client. And we were discussing the nature of attention, where attention is a subconscious thing. You can't help but look at it. You never know when your attention has been captured. You only know when it's been let go, which is a quote from Blair Warren in Forbidden Keys to Persuasion. So understanding the nature of attention is important when writing these headlines, because you want to capture the person immediately, and then your subhead and your lead do the work of creating the interest necessary for them to continue reading once they realize their attention has been captured and then let go. Because it's very difficult for text to capture attention. Now, when you think about that in the context of a video or VSL or a webinar or something like that, usually visual things capture attention much better than a text letter that you can simply look around and not have to read anymore. Video tends to capture people's attention better. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, so Matthew is talking about a supplement business. Okay, what's the supplement, or what does it do? You don't have to say like the name if you don't want to disclose your client, but what does it do? It's a probiotic. Okay, so the thing with probiotics is there's two major markets for a probiotic. There are the people who simply want better health, and a probiotic is one of those staples for a particular community to take in order to have better health. They're also the people who will probably have a vitamin D supplement, maybe a vitamin A supplement, perhaps a B complex supplement. The type of people who take maintenance level nutrition in order to stay healthy. That is one target market for that, for probiotics. Another target market for probiotics are people with gut issues. They're turning to probiotics for people who, either they have IBS or they've just taken a series of antibiotics and they want to repopulate their gut. There's a reason, like there's a specific reason, not necessarily an overall health reason. So people with digestive issues, that's usually who supplement companies choose to target, simply because it's one of the most common and easiest. But with that said, though, it's very competitive. So your market is much more sophisticated and your prospect is likely more aware, unless you choose to go with a less aware market. So in terms of those headlines, then understanding that your market is more sophisticated and you can choose what level of awareness to target, then I'm going to assume that your market is at like a level 3 sophistication, where you're looking for new mechanisms of some sort, because probiotics have kind of been hyped out of the typical, it's got this many billions of things, so buy my thing, or, that thing. So the new mechanism then would be inherent in the product, or inherent in somehow, or in the way the product works. Or if the product works exactly the same as all the other products on the marketplace and there is no unique mechanism tied in directly to how the product works, then the mechanism would be hidden in the research and the desires of your marketplace. If there is new research regarding probiotics use that gives a certain benefit or an extra benefit, for example, there's new stuff coming out about gut health being tied into weight loss and fat loss and consistently being lean and muscular, how the gut is very, very key in that. You could tie in that research. You can tie in the desire for additional benefits just taking probiotic, things like that. You can tie into a particular target market, as in, probiotics for athletes, probiotics for women over 65, probiotics for children, things like that. All those different angles you can go, and then you start looking at, okay, who am I trying to target and what kind of headline is going to work, right? What medium should I choose? VSL, webinar, or sales letter, that sort of thing. And then try to dig into either what the product has, as in new stuff for the product that they did on purpose, as in, probiotics are bad, I'm making mine better type thing. A lot of supplements do that. But if they don't have that, then you need to dig into the research and figure out what the cool new stuff is about probiotics. Does that make sense? Cool. Nice. All right. So Deborah asks, no problem, man. Deborah asks, what sorts of secrets do you have for capturing attention? Key ideas or things to think about. Okay, so let's go with the first one. What sorts of secrets do you have for capturing attention? Okay, so capturing attention. It largely depends on the medium. So a video, is it live or is it recorded? Is it really glitzy or is it kind of, low budget? Sales letters are, very cut and dry in terms of what they look like. So now you're dealing with primarily the target market and who's reading them. If I want someone to read a sales letter, then the number one way that I have for capturing attention for a sales letter is to make a promise in the headline. And that promise can either be blatant or implied. For example, the sales letter I wrote for this mentorship course was one that I'm actually pretty proud of because a lot of people responded positively to it. So that one is junior copywriters, this is your Harajuku moment. So it's a declarative headline that specifically calls out junior copywriters, and it either has enough interest for you to figure out what a Harajuku moment is to continue reading, or if you know what a Harajuku moment is, if you're a follower of Tim Ferriss or, someone who's read The 4-Hour Body and kind of understands what that means, then you know what it is and you go, oh, that's specific for me. And that means that now I'm interested in that. The headline was a promise. It was an implied promise that I'm going to teach you something that is beneficial enough to warrant the use of that Harajuku moment. So, and then I went on to continue and I told a story in the lead. So with that said, that would be an implied promise. You can also make a very blatant promise, like, give me 5 minutes and I will show you exactly how to cure back pain forever. Or give me 5 minutes and I will show you 57 ways to make your webinar more profitable. Or, something like that. And a very blatant promise, because that promise captures the attention of the person who is supposed to be interested in that sales message, and then keeps them around a little bit longer than, say, a pain-based headline or a question or something like that. Or the headline itself should be a promise. And now the question is, how long does it have to be to capture their attention? A short promise like the junior copywriters, this is your Harajuku moment, or a long promise like the golf letter that you guys just wrote. That is that would be the difference. But promises are one of the tactics that I have. There's other things that I do beyond promises. It's just one of my favorites if I can use it. If I can use a single word or a couple words in the headline that are shocking. So one of the VSLs that I currently have running that a client is still running on ClickBank and has as a control for this product, the opening line is, "You've been lied to your entire life." That's shocking. It's grabbing. It's something that, especially for the market I was writing to, they had never heard that before, especially in the first line of a VSL. So that shock factor captured their attention because it also kind of pulled at that primal fear that there's something that they didn't know. Like they've been trying to do something, but there's something they didn't know. So those types of things, either it's shocking or it's a big promise, either implied or direct, those types of things tend to capture attention pretty well. If you can't find a way to make a big promise directly or indirectly, or a shocking title of some sort, then I would go with very, very, very clear headline. Like, this is exactly what you're getting. Like something like, "Give me 9 minutes and I will give you 6-pack abs," or something like that. Again, it's more promising. I'm having a hard time just coming up with something more statement oriented that isn't a promise. But the clearer your headline is, if you're not using any of the other things, the more receptive your audience is going to be. Simply because confusion, people who are confused don't buy anything. So I would go in that order, either big promise or shocking or very clear. And those are, I guess that follows up with your key ideas or things to think about as well. That's what I would do. Yeah, no problem. Cool. Okay. All right. Okay, so Deborah asks, I had a question about fifth stage and identity. Cool. For something like dating to marry, one of my clients, it seems to change their identity. It seems they need to change their identity from someone who never gets the right kind of man to someone who can get the right kind of man. What can you share about this in this realm? Okay, so I'm guessing that question is meant to be for your client who is teaching women, I'm assuming women, how to find the man of their dreams and then marry the man of their dreams. Is that accurate? Mostly women. Okay. How to mate to marry. Well, I think the very first thing right there is to pick a gender. And I'm a very progressive individual. I understand that assigning gender and allowing people to be themselves and not doing all that stuff. I understand that is a thing that our society needs to work on. However, in copywriting and with a mass market idea for appeal, you need to pick a gender. And in this case, the marketplace that is most interested in finding a mate forever is going to be women. That is the way that the vast majority of women are conditioned from birth, versus men are obviously not as conditioned from birth to want a wife. There are certain cultures where men want wives more so than others, and very, very large cultures, actually, India being one of them. So that's not always true, but in typical Western societies, men are conditioned to want to date / hook up, and women are conditioned to want to marry / settle down. That's not always true, but in general. 70% women. Okay. So does she do individual work or does she have a program that she sells? Both. Okay. which one is more of the individuals she works with? Okay, she wants to get out of individual, so she's going to sell a program. Especially then, in that case, then I would concentrate on one particular gender. Doesn't mean that she can't run a male version. I mean, Richard is working on a similar project, obviously, where he's trying to help men become the men they need to be to get the women of their dreams. So if it's a program, though, I would giving them a specific gender, like this is for women only, is one less cognitive obstacle for them to buying the product. Because the number one objection, and this is something that everybody should probably write down and put on a sticky note above their desk, the number one objection in any human being's mind when they're going to buy something or when they're interested in buying something is this right for me? Because they are curious about the claims and the promises being made and whether or not they are relevant to themselves, because they are a special snowflake with different needs and desires than every other human being on the planet. So that objection, is this right for me, is going to get asked every single time you write a piece of copy. Now, you can help take that the teeth off of that objection by making it very clearly for a certain type of person. That's going to alienate, in this case, men from your one product. But with that said, Marie Forleo does a very good job of targeting only women and doing everything for women. However, she has several men buy her programs. It's not very many, but several. So just because you're targeting women doesn't mean that you're going to only sell to women. Let's see. Right. I'm going to write down something. I want to keep answering your question, Deborah, but because we're chatting, I'm losing the questions that were up here. So give me 1 second. I'm going to write it down. Giles asked about copy sequence for launching a course. Okay, and we'll talk about that in a second, Giles. I want to finish with Deborah. Okay. So, Deborah, with your client, she is... The fifth stage in identity is actually more about the product and the person behind the product and or the business behind the product than it is the target market. In general, this is not true of every human being, but in general, humans like to follow people. They like to have a leader. They like to belong to a tribe that already has the identity that they want to attribute to themselves. So with the fifth stage, the goal isn't necessarily to help individuals or help your clients transform their identity. It's to transform your own identity as a company and have people fall in line and have people follow you. So that's the concept behind the fifth stage. So with that said, the client that you're working with right now would most likely need to position herself as a fifth stage company around personality and identity and the type of woman that her target market wants to be. And that's where she's going to start. The actual transformation that's involved by purchasing and using her product is not part of the fifth stage identity. The end result might be, as in, I am this type of woman. This is my story. If you connect with that type of story, if you want those type of results, then buy my program here because I put it all in here for you. That type of angle, I guess, is one where she's going to have to build that up about herself. But then when she starts getting results or she has other clients that she can speak to, then she's going to obviously start showing those results as well in terms of client testimonials and that sort of thing. But with a fifth stage business, you have to be You have to be willing to go full into whatever identity you believe your target clients want. In this case, what is that? I would give you an example with Marie Forleo again, because she's a really great example for what I would consider a fifth stage business. She realized that the marketplace for business training, how to start a business, was completely saturated. They were at level 4 and they'd been there for a while, and people were trying to introduce new mechanisms through Facebook ads and Pinterest and all this crap. But nobody had ever, besides a few people, had never kicked into a fifth stage. And especially there was no women who had kicked into a fifth stage yet. There were women coaches and women training people to do online marketing and start online businesses, but no one with the clout that she wanted. So there was a market opening there. In your client's case, is the market sophisticated enough to warrant going all into a fifth stage style business? The dating slash, marriageability, I don't know even know if that's a word, type programs for women, is that the type of market that's close to needing a fifth stage personality? And if it isn't, then she's going to have to work a little bit harder to justify the fifth stage versus, getting better results by switching to the third stage or the fourth stage or something like that. Yes. Okay. So yeah, dating is a saturated market. One of the things that I can think of here, put my pen away, come up to the screen. I'm going to close that out real quick. Let's see. I'm going to look up, it's the language of desire. Is a Chris Haddad program. And obviously you see all the affiliates here. Did I spell that correctly? Is this it? I don't really operate in the dating market, so you'll please forgive me for my okay.
Talk.
Okay, so let's analyze this real quick. I'm not sure if you guys can hear the audio because I've got headphones in or anything like that, but I'll pause it and we won't work on this. If you want to research this later, Debbie, this is an example of an eight-figure dating product. I get it. This is not what your client is after. However, this is your client's target market, is what I'm guessing, unless it's completely off. This is an 8-figure business per year. So obviously the pre-headline / headline for this video is making a promise, speaking to a primal desire. Then the very first line is a primal desire shocking headline that is going to grab them immediately. And then the immediate story that comes after this is a attention capturing / pain related, primal fear related story. And then that's the beginning of this thing. So this product, I believe, is basically a big book of questions and answers that was posed as a survey to this guy's male audience. Like, what are the things that are true about you that you don't want women to know, or something like that. And so the intrigue of the product is that these women have been making the same mistakes like your clients, women have, over and over and over again. They can't seem to figure out why. And they believe primally that there is like a specific secret way of communicating with men or understanding what men are thinking, because men don't tell them what they're thinking and they want to get inside their heads and figure out what they're thinking. And then obviously attract the one that they want or keep the one that they want. So it's worth studying in that regard. But that is a very well-written VSL from a very, very successful copywriter in a very, very primal market. It might not be what your client is going after. Now, with that said, though, that's her competition in a lot of ways, especially if she's building a program. So especially with dating is a very, very primal marketplace. There's a lot of emotional stuff that goes into dating because that's getting down to lizard brain stuff. Like that's not even monkey brain, that's lizard brain. And your client, I hesitate to say this because I don't know your client and I don't know your relationship with your client or what your client does to service her clients or customers. However, in this marketplace, especially with how saturated it is, unless you are specifically targeting a specific message for a reason, then the more shocking, the more upfront, the more real, the more primal you are, the more successful you're going to be. And I say, unless you have a specific angle, there are some, women who are professional matchmakers for CEOs. Obviously, they can't have a VSL that looks like that and feels really, like campy if they're going after Fortune 500 CEOs who want a girlfriend or boyfriend. That's that angle, right? If your client is trying to create a product, then she is going to have to get very real and honest about what the target market wants and what they're going to respond to based on the levels of awareness and sophistication. And if she's too squeamish to do that, then you just have to be aware that she's probably going to fail, or she's probably going to not succeed at the level that she could succeed. Like I said, that product sells a $47 product and is like an 8-figure per year business. So and it continues to be successful for the last several years because it taps into the real raw need. Now, with that said, the forward language written by a male copywriter is probably a turnoff for a lot of women. So I would anticipate that there is a huge marketplace of people who slough off because they're turned off by that language, but they are very interested still in the primal desire. Does that help? If you give me more specifics, I'd be able to help a little bit more because I was giving you general information. Sure. Yeah. So yeah, send her site over. So Deborah says that her client is really all about how to fix yourself first because that was her personal experience. I get that. And there might be a certain segment of the marketplace who responds to that, and that's to be seen. But the vast majority of people don't want to believe that they are the problem. They would rather believe that there's a secret language inside male brains that they don't understand, and they just need to figure out what that language is because it's not about them. It's not about them being unmarriageable. Again, I don't know if that's a word. Forgive me if it's not. It's not about them being unable to meet men or being unattractive to men. It has to be something related to how men are thinking because look at them. I'm a beautiful woman. I'm successful. Why am I scaring away all these men? Having all these bad experiences. Blah 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 blah. It can't be me. So let me see what we got here. I'll look at the link. Okay. So when I look at this, find the one, get married and live your dream. This is a level 4 awareness headline. There, it is desire based. The problem with a level 4 headline is that it does not always attract the most urgent or interested individuals, simply because they haven't moved down the spectrum of, problem aware, solution aware, right? So automatically she's alienating the first three levels of awareness. And I mean, I can go through here and see what else she has. The 7 mistakes when dating to marry and how to avoid them. Mm-hmm. Okay. What kind of programs does she have? Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, if this were, to give you context, if this were my client, Debbie, I would immediately start asking a lot of questions on target market, sophistication, awareness, primal desire, what her current clients are saying, what they were saying when they first showed up versus what they're saying now. It's very difficult to interview previous clients without getting that cloud of language and understanding from the course that they took, because your existing customers are not the same as your prospects. Your existing customers are people who've already made the decision to buy somehow. Usually it's emotional, usually it's subconscious, and so it's very hard to pull it out of them. The does she know how she wants to redo the copy, or is she leaving that up to you? Okay. What is her urgency to redo the sales copy? Why? Like, what is the thing driving her to want to redo all of the sales copy? Oh, from like a Ryan Levesque type thing? Okay. Well, we probably should talk about this just offline. Because if it's hard to get, this is something too, guys. So if you're listening to the recording or you're listening to this live, Deborah's saying that she's having trouble getting the client to respond to her. She's having trouble, working with the client to get what she needs to write the copy or that sort of thing. What this means is that there's a lack of urgency in the client's mind to get this done. And due to that lack of urgency, something else is taking precedence, something else is taking priority to getting it done. There are two options here. Either you make it more urgent for them by identifying what it is that they have as a priority, or identifying what they actually want and saying, look, if we don't get this done, then this is going to fail miserably, and making it urgent. Or she has priorities otherwhere, in other places. Like, there's also an element of subconscious stuff going on where she may or may not want to change, or change is scary, and therefore procrastination and perfectionism set in. So if you're helping someone redo their website or redo their copy, any redos of anything tend to be emotional and dragged out. Yeah, unclear. Okay. So your job then as a copywriter would be to take her through the stuff that I taught you in this mentorship, like especially the big four, and literally just line it out. I know you're an extremely organized person already and you've done content breakdowns. So by going either through it with her or for her and doing a complete analysis using the big four as a filter, then you come back to her and say, look, this is what it currently looks like. This is what it needs to look like in order to hit all the big things and actually grow. And because you're experiencing XYZ pains, as in low conversions, low email opt-ins, the program's not selling, something like that, because you're experiencing that, that is a symptom of you not hitting these big four pillars accurately. Then once you've got that information, you go to her and say, look, this is what's killing your business right now, and this is how we have to change it. That's how I would go about this. I mean, she's obviously put the work in here to brand and write the copy and do all that kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, I see this as a less aware market like play, when she could be going to a more aware market play and doing a lot better. Yeah, no problem. All right, Giles, your question was my copy and sequence for launching a course. Okay, Giles, what type of course? Meditation. Okay, price point? $250. Okay. So, and is it going to be evergreen or is it going to be a launch? As in, like one and done? Launch. Okay. So if it's just going to be a launch, not evergreen, I would do a standard Jeff Walker style product launch. So the Jeff Walker style product launch is you've got your pre-launch, and that is actually what it's called, pre-launch. And then you have your pre-launch, then you have your launch, then you have your post-launch. So there are 4 components to this launch. The pre-launch is when you are building a list, teasing the launch, and getting engagement. Meaning, people are opening your emails because there's content in them, there's goodies in them, you're giving things away. You're keeping the engagement up with this list that you're building. The pre-launch is a series of 3 videos that are going to need VSL scripts or video scripts that you'll write the copy for. And those 3 videos are basically going to talk about it's a sideways sales letter, a concept, but Jeff has obviously created his formulas for that. So if you're going to really follow this, I would recommend either getting into Jeff's program or at the very least talking with someone who's an expert in Jeff's program specifically. I just know it. I don't claim to be an expert in his program. But those 3 videos are basically going to start with the opportunity, which is sort of the promised land of whatever it is your product does for people. Then they're going to go into what's the best way to say this one? It's it's simultaneously a reality check, but also a little bit of, coaching, like how to do this yourself type deal. So it brings them back down to reality and shows them the gritty reality of where they currently are and some of the bad things about where they are and the things they're experiencing. But it also teaches them in a way that, gives them something, but also shows them that there's a lot more out there. And I realize I'm being very vague right now because I'm trying to give you a general overview. And then the third video would be the solution, where basically you're talking about, this is what the perfect world would look like. Oh, by the way, there's going to be a fourth video that tells you all about it. So basically, like, this is what the perfect scenario would look like. And by the way, we're selling you a product with all of those things. And then the launch is just a sales video. Standard sales video, discusses the 3 videos beforehand, and obviously copy underneath it that answers any questions, FAQs, sells the course, all that kind of thing. Typically, you will open cart on a specific day after releasing the pre-launch videos over the course of a week or a week and a half or 2 weeks. And once you open the cart, you leave the cart open for seven days or so, maybe 5 or 7 days. And during that 5 or 7 day period, you can do live webinars where you're answering questions or teaching more, basically getting people hyped up. Every single action you can have during that 5 day to 7 day period will most likely increase your sales. And then once that's done, you close the cart. And once you close the cart, you can wait a day or two, or you can wait a few days. And then your post-launch is going to be, hey, we've had so many people come to us after the end of this launch and say, hey, I couldn't make it for XYZ reason, or, I just learned about this on the last day and I missed it, or whatever, that you're going to reopen it for 24 hours. And so you reopen the cart for 24 hours, get a few more sales in, and then close it again. And that's your launch. For 48 hours. You can do 48 hours too. So that's the overall basic gist of the launch that I would do if you're doing a non-evergreen focused launch for a $250 product, because that is going to allow you to build the biggest amount of momentum for this course, and then obviously build an email list that you can use. And on top of that, potentially find JVs for the next launch that will then promote your product for you. Now, that's going to require email copy, obviously the 4 video scripts, any landing page stuff, any lead magnet stuff, all of that. So that's a significant amount of copy for a launch like that. To give you context, I would probably charge a client $30,000 to $50,000 to write the copy for that. Yeah, so all told, the pre-launch phase can go on for as long as you need it to build a good list. But from the start of the pre-launch to the end of the cart close is about a 3-week period. 3.5 weeks. So you have 100 signups now. Is that just 100 in general, or 100 over time? Okay, so you have 100 people on an email list right now. No, 6,000. Oh, okay. Then where did the 100 number come from? Oh, so you typically get 100 sales. Is that what you're saying? From previous launches? Okay. So how do you do the launches as they are now? Like, do you just say, hey, announce, here's the program? Just 2 or 3 emails with a basic sales page? Okay. So then in that case, I'm not going to make promises. Launches can be really, really, really good, and launches can also not be as good. But I would say that if you coordinate with the instructor and do this launch not only to your list, but also the instructor's list, then you could see an increase of 2 or 3x what you're currently doing based on the size of your current list and their list. So you have a 6,000 person list. I would be surprised to not see 200 or 300 sales from a 6,000 person list that has already bought, $100 or 100 of these programs just from basic marketing, because you build the momentum and you build the hype and then you drop the price versus just opening up with the email. Now, again, I don't know if that's going to be true or not. Results may vary, but doing a launch the right way, or at least semi the right way, is usually better than just dropping a few emails because the momentum is there. Yeah. So, but it is more work versus 2 or 3 emails. So that would be my advice. Hey, Daryl, how's it going, man? Thank you for being on here. All right. So I want to see if anybody asked a question here, but we're coming up on the hour. And words of wisdom for this week's assignment. That's the Bitcoin assignment, right? So the Bitcoin assignment is an exercise in research, especially because not a lot of people know about Bitcoin. And when you do, you know too much. So you can't really explain it to a layperson. And it's very difficult to find anyone with in-between knowledge. So it's an exercise in research. It's an exercise in figuring out your market level of awareness and sophistication. Sorry. But it's also an exercise in writing for a product that isn't perfect. If you ever have a client or if you ever have a product that has a, kind of a controversial angle or a controversial past, then you're going to have to deal with that. If the product is good, if it's a crap product, then you probably don't want to write for it in the first place. But Coinbase is a product that a lot of people use. It's just a lot of, there's a lot of hate around there. So I guess my words of wisdom are, in copywriting, it's perfectly okay to preach to the choir. If I'm going to preach to the choir, I'm going to sell more stuff because they already believe what I want them to believe. So the whole idea being that when you're preaching to someone, you're trying to convert them. But when you're trying to sell someone, then you're trying to get the easiest sales that you can. If you've identified a marketplace that doesn't know about the controversy of Coinbase, you do not have to discuss the controversy of Coinbase. If you truly want to go and convert the people who are pissed off, then you have to answer their objections with real information. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can do it. So that's my words of wisdom. Try to find a marketplace that will accept it as an option. All right, 9:02. Any other questions for me right now? Because we got started a few minutes late. Clarification, Deborah? Yeah, I'd have to go back and let me do this real quick. I'm gonna my screen paused. You guys can see Facebook right now, right? Okay, so I'm going to go into my email real quick. Try and find I forgot which ones I'm getting the emails into because we set these up beforehand and then send them out, so I have to figure out what the assignment is. Forgive me for looking around real quick. All right. So probably would have been Yep. Okay, so yeah, target market is unknown. This is what I thought. I just wanted to confirm. The target market is unknown. You must research the market yourself and discover what you believe to be the best target market to offer the service to. Part of the assignment. Unknown and level 2. So they're aware of Bitcoin markets and they're aware of this service because it's the biggest and most influential. Your job is to convince them to try it out and answer any major objections they might have. So they are aware of Bitcoin markets and they're aware of the service. And one of the challenges of the project is to convince them or give them a good reason for going with Coinbase. Now, if your target market is someone who's aware of Bitcoin markets and aware of Coinbase, that doesn't necessarily have to be a person who is deep into the cryptocurrency community. It can be someone who is simply aware of Bitcoin and is aware of Coinbase because they are because they're aware of Bitcoin. Coinbase is one of the biggest wallets that you can use. So with that said, the aim of the project is to select the best target market given the parameters that you have. And I would say that the words of wisdom for that would be think outside the box. Cool? All right. All right. So I think that'll do it for this one, guys. Thank you all for your questions. These were good ones. Hopefully you got good answers. Happy to help. The assignment is due on Friday, isn't it? Pretty sure it's due on Friday. Yes, it is. So, yep, if you have any questions, additionally, ask them in the group, please. If you're listening to the recording and you have questions on the assignment, please ask them in the group. Thank you all again for your attention and your time. Then I will talk to everyone later. Everybody have a good one. Thank you very much.